operation, and they still brought in nearly $1 billion over the course of Prohibition. The flip side of these enormous rewards for smugglers is that on the consumer end, this liquor rapidly becomes way too expensive for most people to afford. Fortunately, there is a much cheaper option. You can always make your liquor yourself, something Americans have been doing for hundreds of years. This is in fact a pre-Prohibition era still, from the late 19th century. As you can see, a remarkably simple machine. There are no missing parts. This is all there is to it. You pour fermented corn mash into this chamber, you heat it, the alcohol boils off, turns into a vapor, flows through the tube, cools, condenses back into a liquid over there in the reservoir. That's pretty much it. The only catch is that you have to have an airtight seal under the hood. If you haven't got that, you get pressurized jets of alcoholic vapor spurting out. And that's the last thing you want, because of course you've got an open flame down there providing your heat source. So machines like this would explode all the time. Because of this, people run them outdoors, and because it's illegal, they do it at night. That's where this liquor gets the name moonshine. The secret ingredient for a still like this is the light of the moon. Any of you folks ever had the misfortune to have encountered moonshine? What did you think? It was good. What kind of moonshine did you have? Was it a flavored moonshine?
Yeah, it was a personal, like
somebody made it. Yeah.
But it was like a blueberry.
Blueberry, yeah. They make great.
For ice, it's really good.
You can make alcohol out of literally anything, and these days people make them in modern stills with filtration systems. You can get a pretty decent product. Something that comes out of a machine like that is going to taste awful. Tends to be between 130 and 160 proof. It's got a sickly sweet stench to it because it's made out of corn. And it's got this really bitter, violently acrid flavour to it. The most common response people have to drinking what they call white lightning moonshine is, it tastes like burning. And it really does. A side effect of how popular this stuff was in the 20s, bartenders are essentially forced to invent the modern American cocktail to compensate. All the sweet, pungent 20s cocktails, daiquiris and Manhattans and sidecars, all popularised as a response to how terrible some of the liquor they were using to make them was. Now, there were a number of other ways around the laws. There's a religious exemption, of course, and there's a medical exemption. On the back wall there, we've got a couple of prescription stubs from the 20s, by which time it's pretty clear that alcohol really doesn't make the best of medicines. Nonetheless, it's an extraordinarily popular medicine as soon as it becomes illegal for recreational purposes. Each one of these prescriptions allows you to buy one of these little pint bottles of medicinal whiskey that we've got down here. You can see that one in the middle is a Four Roses brand of medicinal whiskey. It's identical to the Four Roses bourbon that you can still buy in the bar downstairs today. Then, as now, doctors prescribing what's essentially a recreational drug for ostensibly medical purposes, they get very inventive with the ailments they claim to treat. That prescription on the bottom is made out to treat someone's debility. A nice open-ended term for pretty much any kind of thing that could be wrong with your health. Now, all of these loopholes required a bit of ready cash, but there was one way to get liquor that was very, very cheap. By far the most cost-effective way to get your hands on alcohol is to buy it at the hardware store. Buy this very cheap, very pure industrial grain alcohol. 190 to 195 proof, this stuff is not covered by the Prohibition laws. The 18th Amendment gives the government power over the trade in intoxicating beverages. This stuff is definitely intoxicating, but it's not technically a beverage. It's intended for industrial uses. You can strip paint with it, you can melt glue with it, you can embalm bodies with it. One thing the government assumes you're not going to do with this stuff is drink it. But boy are they wrong about that. People love this stuff. The beauty of pure grain alcohol, of course, is that it doesn't have a strong flavour of its own. It's a neutral spirit. Water it down a bit, fill your bathtub with it, throw in a couple of sprigs of juniper berries, and a couple of days later you've got a bathtub full of gin. This is a big problem for the government for two reasons. Firstly, criminals are stealing this stuff by the tens of thousands of gallons from industrial warehouses around the nation, turning it into enormous amounts of fake liquor. But it's a problem for a bigger reason. As the cheapest form of liquor available, this is disproportionately where the poor...